Great. Well, looks like we do have some new faces here. So why don't we do just real quick introductions, try to keep it pretty brief since we've got a good number of folks. I'm Robert Frenette. I'm the president of the West Virginia Electric Auto Association. I am in Berkeley County in the Eastern Panhandle and drive a Tesla Model 3 and a previous Leaf owner. Jim, you want to go next?
Jim Warbe. I have a Bolt, and I'm in the Canaan Valley, West Virginia.
All right, Marty, you're up.
Oh, I'm Marty Warwick. We have a Tesla Model 3 and a 2011 Chevy Volt.
All right, Scott.
Hello, I'm Scott Hamilton. I live in the same subdivision that Marty does. I also have a red Tesla Model 3. Got it Memorial Day weekend 2018. 42,000 miles. Love the car. I have a couple of non-plug-in hybrids of a Camry and a Prius that my kids who are in and out of college have.
Great. Well, it says Mary Ann.
Yep. Hello.
Oh, there you are. There you are.
And Ralph Overhold. Yep. So we're here. We have been to obviously the regular meetings. Haven't been on the phone call. We have upgraded our Wi-Fi a little bit, so we may actually be able to hang out and not disappear off the screen. We have a Tesla Model S red from 2017.
All right, awesome. And you're coming through loud and clear. You look good, sound good.
Good. I'll take that.
All right, Larry.
Okay, I'm Larry Harris. I have a Tesla Model 3 there, and my daughter has the 2018 Bolt, and I have a Cricket golf cart, and I have a Ryobi riding battery mower that I just put a blade on yesterday.
All right. And you're out of, I'm trying to think, is it Poca?
Nitro.
Nitro.
I'm in Poca.
Poca. Oh, I was right the first time. Erica?
I'm Erica Harvey. I'm in Fairmont, West Virginia, and I have a Honda Clarity that I've had for a couple years now, which I really like.
Awesome. And Erica, you guys have a new charging station where you work now, I think, at Fairmont State University?
We do. We have it installed. We have the signs up and the ground is painted. And I was all excited to announce that. And my university relations and marketing people said, could you just wait until the campus isn't closed because of COVID to announce that? But I would say that if you guys need a charge and you're in Fairmont, you're totally welcome to do that. Just don't walk around the campus. Or don't tell them that I sent you.
We found it on our own. We don't know anybody.
Hey, Erica, I was wondering, I noticed it's not up on a PlugShare yet. Would you mind enrolling it and taking a picture of it?
When I asked them about whether I could put it on PlugShare, they said, can you wait until the campus is open? Okay. Is there a way to put a notification on PlugShare that the campus is currently closed?
I think you can add notes about the charger on PlugShare.
Okay, I might work with them on that and say, it's here. Here's our rules about that until further notice. But yeah, Marty, that's why I was trying to get that done.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Rick.
Rick Walker, Huntington, Chevy Bolt.
All right, see if I'm missing anybody. My names are jumping around a little bit, so I'm trying to catch them all. Taylor.
Hey, you guys. Good morning. This is Taylor out of Ripley, West Virginia. I still don't have that electric car. Just here to learn more about them and anxious to get one here before too long.
All right, great. Steve.
Yeah, I'm Steve Bartlett. I live in Shepherdstown, West Virginia, in Jefferson County. I got a 2018 Model 3 long range. I got right in the middle of July, right after I retired from school teaching physics and computer science. Anyway, we live here in Shepherdstown in a co-housing community that we helped build, and I put 3 chargers in ours 3 charge points, level 2s, and we've got 4 electric vehicles in our neighborhood now. So
That's awesome.
4 out of 30 families is not bad.
Great. All right. And then I think we've got Hutch.
Good morning, everybody. My name's Hutch Klein, and I'm in Morgantown. And I've got a Nissan Leaf corporate car. I'm Nissan operations manager for West Virginia. So I just wanted to be in on the conversation. I'm just here to listen to see what the conversation is of EV in West Virginia. So.
Great. Glad to have you.
Thank you.
All right. Did I miss anyone?
Miss John.
Miss John. How could I miss John? And John, I think you're muted.
Okay, that's better, right?
That's it.
And now there we go. Okay, I'm John Averill. I live in Sandstone, Summers County. A couple months ago, I bought a used Chevrolet Bolt EV 2017. Also have a little Prowler EV side by side. So.
And John, I think we've got all the introductions now. I didn't miss anyone else, right? All right, so we've got intros done. John, just real quick, maybe share a little bit about the documentary that we're kind of working on and some of the footage that I know you got recently with the guys at Hawk's Nest and kind of any update you could provide.
Yeah, working on a movie that's probably called West Virginia Electric Vehicle Pioneers, talking about some of you guys, people who have been back as early as like 2005 working with electric vehicles, trying to do a little history there, and also been accumulating some quintessential pictures of like scenic places in West Virginia with EVs next to them. Larry contributed one, a mystery hole, and with the Volkswagen going into the side of a Quonset hut and his Tesla's parked there. It's a beautiful picture. So if anybody has, any kind of semi-quality pictures of your EV next to just, a state park or any iconic places in West Virginia, stills be really nice for a montage in the film. I figure we'll get it on the West Virginia channel. Probably be a half hour long, and I'm just kind of pokey at putting it together, but I'll get it eventually.
Hey, great. Glad to hear it. I know I've been sending you a few video clips here and there of different things, and I probably have some pictures too I could probably send, so I'll take a look at mine. All right. So I think that's all the intros, update on the documentary. There is some good news. Marty, what are your thoughts on the charging situation? I did not get a response from the DOT guys about whether it was their opinion on sharing that news.
Well, maybe we could just say that we know some good news we promise not to tell.
We know some good news that we promise not to tell after a meeting with the Department of Transportation, and we could say that the survey that we did looks like it may have changed some minds, and there may be some good news that comes out of that. So the out-of-state electric vehicle survey that we did, and we submitted those results to the governor's office and to the secretary of the Department of Transportation, that looks to have changed some minds, and we should have some good news that we can share very soon.
Yeah, they made us promise not to tell anybody, which
and why?
make
What
any
was the
sense.
reason?
In case the governor wanted to make an announcement or something, they didn't want to upstage, the governor or someone else. Politics, yes. But since we were invited and they did share, were able to hold this meeting with us, we didn't want to spill the beans without, their blessing. But we also got a nice letter from the Secretary of Department of Transportation indicating some of this. So we even got it in official format in a letter. So good news, hopefully to come very soon that we can share.
Well, I take it was a virtual meeting you had, you and Marty?
Yeah, we had a virtual call with a couple of guys from DOT, and then we got the letter from the secretary.
Super. Congratulations to you too, and thank you very much.
Yeah, the guys we met with were not in a position to speak for the governor or to speak publicly, so we didn't want to take any information those guys gave us.
Right. But I have contacted them about, giving us an okay to release it now that we've received a letter. So hopefully get that next week. And then once we do, I can probably send out an email or, probably send out an email, let folks know kind of what's going on. And the only caution, it is good news, but good news takes time. And, it is a state government project. So, anything that happens, it won't happen overnight. So let's temper expectations a little bit. So good news on the horizon, but it'll probably still take a little while to implement.
But if anyone knows any car dealers that are thinking about putting in DC fast chargers, I'd suggest go ahead. Do it.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, speaking of DC fast chargers, I think that's a good segue to our next topic. I only received one request for a discussion topic other than the ones that I suggested, and that was about DC fast charging. So let's talk a little bit more about DC fast charging. And then Taylor, I think that was your question. So if you wanted to maybe add a little more context to that or what you were interested in.
I saw, I believe, was it Frederick's video that he covered the DC fast charger that was at the dealership?
Yeah, Rick's video. There was a DC fast charger. That was in Ohio, wasn't it?
The Bosch DC fast charger. Yeah.
We have a little bit of we have some influence on terminology, and all of DC charging used to be called level 3. Level 3 never existed. That term never existed. There's 2 levels of DC. Right. We call them both fast charger. A lot of the car dealerships are putting in 25 kilowatt level 1, very much a level 1, because that goes up to 48. And even the old 400 volt, 100 amp, like they used to have at the Hampton in Lexington, they simply replaced that with a 25 kilowatt unit. So I guess we can still call them fast charge, but if you're traveling and you're going to have to get 60 miles for every hour you plugged in, and you need 180, that's a 3-hour plug. I wonder if we should start a DC slow charge and a DC fast charge, or else just use DC fast charge only for level 2 DC, which is above 48 kilowatts, which is the 150 or even the 55s qualify, but or the 50s qualify. But anyway, what I found in my looking around is that car dealerships, for the most part, and I've called Mid-State and a few others that aren't planning to put a level 1 DC in, that would be so much faster than what they have now is a volt 16 amp charger that gives you about 9 miles to 10 miles per hour you plugged in. So they need to replace those with the level 1s, and then they need to publicize it. In Charleston, at the Volvo dealer or the Mercedes-Benz dealer, they have a level 1. They don't even put it on PlugShare. So there's a number of level 1s in West Virginia. We probably need to beg them, just please, even if you charge some money, open them up to the public until the newer ones get in there. But I'm not sure all those 25 kilowatts level fast charge. Now the last point is the fast charge I did go to was in Gallipolis, Ohio, and that's only been in for about 4 or 5 months. And it does make going that route to Columbus, you've got a fast charger in Gallipolis, one in Athens, and another one in Lancaster. So that's really a good route to Columbus. But I still can't get to Maryland, which is where I want to get to. Now, I called the people at Call Alto, that's the Lexington, Virginia, because I had used it before when it was a 40 kilowatt. And they said 3 things. A, it's been replaced with the 25. B, it is working. And C, anybody that needs it can come by and they're not even going to charge you for the electricity. So, I mean, it's for every hour, it's maybe $1.25 of electricity, and they're happy to give that to you, get the publicity and whatever. And it is, I can get there from Huntington, just barely. I've got maybe 5 miles left when I pull in. Then from there, I can go up Interstate 81 and get into Maryland or into Washington, D.C.
So Taylor, was there something specific about the charger? Or?
So I'm gathering that about a 48 kilowatt hour charger is sort of what's considered would be considered a DC fast charger. Is that right?
Up to 48 is DC level 1. And
it's sort of deep,
but they're not fast. And as far as I know, there aren't any 48 units out there. The highest I know is 25.
What kind of service do you need to supply one of those? Like if I wanted to put one of those in, do you need like 3-phase power or 480 volt service or something, or can you get one that you can put on a 200 amp service?
The one that I detailed in my video at Hurricane, yes, Chevrolet and Hurricane, but Larry and I both visited, and they have a Tesla Model 3 there for sale, very, very cheap if somebody's looking for a Tesla. But they put it in, it was about $10,000, and yes, they did do 480 volt, but they only tapped 2 phases off of the 3-phase, but they still were able to get 480 volts. But only, I don't know what the amperage is, it's fairly low if they're only getting 25 kilowatts.
Okay.
I'm going to share my screen real quick. I happened to take this picture when I was at the supercharger in Easton, Maryland. Can everyone see that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was 500 volt, 350 amp for this particular charger. But yeah, you're getting into some serious power when you start talking about DC fast chargers.
Yeah.
And Taylor, have you seen the equipment that goes in with the superchargers? I mean, superchargers are just an example, but all of them would be similar. Like here's the Weston. I only chose Weston because you had a good shot of seeing all the support equipment. Everybody sees the little stalls that superchargers we plug into, but you got to see all this other equipment, these big cabinets over here, and the main connections, and then these big converters. And there's each one of these powers 2 of the stalls, so you've got 4 of those there.
Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of equipment that goes along with it. I see. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so these are none of these DC fast charging installations, especially if you've got multiple stalls, none of them are inexpensive.
Yeah. Okay.
Didn't you say, Robert, they were $30,000 each, and the average to install one?
No, these types of stations. I mean, any DC fast charging. I mean, Marty. I mean, it seems like it's always a 6-figure investment, and if it's a large one like these Teslas, I mean, you're probably talking $200,000 to $300,000.
Yeah, I meant per bay.
Oh, per stall. Yeah, you might say that. Yeah.
I'd say it's probably closer to 50,000 per stall for the capital.
And it does kind of vary depending on the location and how much construction, like trenching and road work that has to be done, and there's a lot of other just construction physical costs that get involved.
Marty,
you can't make money. I had a long conversation with the guy that runs the YouTube channel Out of Spec Motoring, and he said he's looked at it every possible way, and he says you just can't make money, even charging 50 cents a kilowatt hour, because of the high capital costs and the demand charges. Someone plugs in and takes 150 kW that they during business hours, they've just rang up 150 times 20 $3,000 charge to the provider for that month. And so you had 4, say you have 4 stalls, that's a lot of money. That's if you had 4 cars charging at the same time, that could be $12,000 every month. So it's really expensive. Tesla actually builds the cost of those chargers into the cars when you buy a car.
and that's about $2,000, right, Marty?
They don't tell you that, but originally they were selling access very early on, back in when the Model S first came out, they were selling that access for $2,000 to access the supercharger. So my guess is that they add $2,000 to the cost of every car.
And just real quick before we get off this topic, we've had a couple. I saw a chat comment, and Steve Bartlett has his hand up. So Steve, what was your question?
Well, somebody asked, I think it was 25 kilowatt at 480 volts. That's 52 amps. I just wanted to share that. I didn't know if that was interesting information or relevant, but so yeah. And then that Tesla charger you shot with 500 volts at 350 is 175 kilowatt charger. So that just my physics input. Sorry.
The station was 485 volts, but only 130 amps, and they were 62.5 kilowatt max. I mean, up until 55% load, just about. Every vehicle steps down at a different point, and one of the ways that Tesla a few years ago got faster charging was not to increase the max, but to increase the amount of time that the max was in effect before the first step down. A Chevy Bolt still steps down at 55% battery status charge. You're going to drop down. Now, if you already started at 25 kilowatts, you don't drop down, because even if that drop down's above, you don't drop down until the last 5%. So you can go to 95%. But most of the DCFC will drop down significantly at 85%. So that you don't usually want to stay past an 80% state of charge, or you might as well go on to a level 2. You're going to get at about the same speed. DC level.
Taylor, one more comment. If you really want to learn something about these definitions of levels and things like that, that's all defined by the IEEE, Institute of Electrical Engineers.
And the Society of Automotive Engineers.
Yeah. Okay. I think that that's out there. You can find those things. I think they did a poor job because those levels were defined before EVs really got big, and they don't match up to the actual service. That's why people resorted to other names for the charging situations, and that's normally they're broken down in categories like wall chargers, destination chargers, which is what most people have put in their garage, and then DC fast chargers, rather than level 1, level 2, and level 3, because the levels just don't make a lot of sense.
Well, and I think this whole industry, the charging industry has been evolving rapidly, and I mean all of this technology, electric vehicle technology, and the charging technology has been rapidly evolving. So as soon as you put a label on something, it seems like it's shortly out of date. And then, to that point, I think Erica, you were making a comment in the chat about the about language around it. Did you have a comment you wanted to add on that?
Oh, it was just, if we started to just use terms like kilowatts, then everyone would start getting an understanding of what power means. And I don't know about the things like, where it shuts down or what, that's not something I know about. But right now it seems really hard for me to figure out where my car can charge, and the words just keep changing and evolving, and none of them mean anything real, like scientifically. So if you change to something that was an actual number in a unit, then it might be easier for people to not go out of date. This is always what this is going to be. It's not fast or slow because tomorrow that changes.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. Of course, part of it is we're also, we're all early adopters and generally probably a little more technically minded, so it comes a little more easy for us to talk about these things. But for the general public, who is used to just, going to a gas station and throwing a gas nozzle in the car and pumping, it's going to be until we get some more standards across connectors and some other, bits and pieces, it's probably going to be a little confusing. Because I know we've got, some multiple standards competing. Like people see a supercharger and they think they can charge their Chevy Bolt at it, and they can't because it's a different standard. And so some of these different things. And I did throw up a quick charge curve model on the screen. I think Taylor, Rick, somebody mentioned this, but yeah, you can see the step down in the charging rate on the charge curve. It happens pretty quick. Generally by 50%, you're dropping down, tapering off pretty rapidly. Hey, Rick, I see, has got his hand up.
Yeah, you guys are smart. Correct me, teach me. We always call these step downs, and in the Chevy, it steps down pretty abruptly. But in all of these other curves, is it in fact a gradual tapering, or is it in fact a step down? I have a graph here, if you want to let me share and show it to you, but it's really a step down. What is it? Is that just for EA, or do all of them come down gradually? Marty, Bob?
All the graphs I've seen come down gradually like that, at least for the Teslas.
Can I share screen for a minute?
You can.
Let me do what I want to do. So this is a slide that I use in a talk with Chevy Bolt, and you can see that the tapering here is what they were hoping it was going to be. This is written by somebody. Please give us an update. But here's the drop downs. On the left side here is amperage, and on the right is power. So you can see that here at 55 or 53%, actually, it's below 55, it drops down. Then it drops down at 65. Then it drops down at 85. Then it drops down at 95. Then it drops down at 97. So if you come in at this level, you don't drop down until 85%. So this is only if you're above powers over here. So here's 40 kilowatts right there. So if you're anything below 40, you don't even step down. You step down a little tiny bit here, but the major one is here. Anyway.
Well, and I think these graphs that we're like on the Tesla side that we're showing, when you're charging in the car up on the main display, it shows power level and state of charge. So I think this is just people are pulling the number that the car is showing over time and the state of, over the state of charge from the display. And it is a pretty smooth, gradual decline you can see in the car as it's charging. Now, behind the scenes, is there more than that going on? Possibly. But from what the data that you can get off the car, it does kind of look like this curve. All right. Well, I know we spent some time on DC fast charging. Any other comments, questions?
It was great to use the Chillicothe supercharger in early October when we were going to Wisconsin. Makes the Charleston to Dayton run a lot less stressful. I'm really pleased that it's right next to a Joanne Fabrics.
That's costly. Hey, I have one more comment. Tesla has an algorithm that if the supercharger is busy, they'll limit people to an 80% maximum charge. Now, it's possible to overrule that and get a higher charge, but the idea is that up to 80% state of charge fills up fairly rapidly. I think you're still well above 50 kilowatts at 8% state of charge at a V3 supercharger. But I'd never seen that at West Virginia supercharger until about a week and a half ago. I had to pick up a few KW because we were running errands up to Jackson County every day. And so I was very surprised to see that label that they're asking you to, when you get to 80% state of charge, just to leave and let someone else charge. And surprisingly, at the time, there were 5 people charging at the Charleston supercharger.
All right. So the Charleston unit or Charleston location was a high volume supercharger.
Yeah, which is never, it's been there for 3-4 years now, and it's never seen that before. So.
All right, awesome.
When you say busy, is that like a 5/8 load then? If they have 8 chargers? And
yeah, there were 5 out of 8 were plugged in. Okay. As soon as I plugged in, one guy left, so it went down to 4. But But if you get 4 or more, idle charges kick in. So you really want to move your car out of there because those are $1 a minute.
The busiest one I've ever been to at one time was in Huntington, actually, Rick. All the stalls were in use.
Well, the Tesla people know this already, and that is there's 2 plugs on every pedestal, and if you get there, you want to pick a pedestal that doesn't. I'm not sure that the charge point and those do that, but when I was in Gallipolis, if there had been a somebody plugged in the Chatamo plug, that might have reduced the power. So even though you have 8 plugs at a station, or 8 plugs at a location, 2 per station, you may, if you're sharing it, you're only going to get half as much of the power.
Well, that was true for the V1, V2 superchargers, Rick, but with V3, that's no longer the case. All of the stalls can give maximum power.
And who knows anything about the push to put batteries at each of these so that we can avoid the demand charges? Can you load up enough with the battery to give somebody, 50 kilowatts or something like that without pushing into the demand charges? I thought I saw something from Elon that they were going to do that at many of the Tesla stations in the United States. They were going to now build battery storage next to them. Did I get that right or wrong?
Well, I mean, they have started that with some state locations, probably where it was advantageous, like that Las Vegas location that has a lot of stalls. They've got battery and solar at that location. But beyond Tesla, even Electrify America is buying the Tesla power packs to install at not all, but at some of their locations where it's advantageous to avoid demand charges. And I don't know that the cars are actually charging from the battery per se. It's just they're using the battery to slice down the load a little bit so that they can avoid hitting those peaks. So when they have a lot of cars charging during a particularly expensive period of time, the battery kicks in to take some of that load.
But not if there's just one plugged in. But
right. You wouldn't matter then.
Every time someone plugs in.
Can I get a clarification?
Yeah.
We talk about kilowatts, which is basically the power delivered per unit time, but the amount of energy you get on your battery is kilowatt hours. So right. I'm getting a little confused when you say get 50 kilowatts. Are you talking about 50 kilowatt hours of
Correct.
energy?
Yes.
Okay.
That's a volume, and the other is the rate.
Yes, exactly.
Yep.
Interestingly, this is just an example for Tesla. They have a 20 stall station in Concord, California, and they've just people found documentation they're adding a second 20 stall station across the street in a different shopping center, but they're within a stone's throw of each other. And on the second one, they're adding a mega pack, which is a 3 megawatt hour battery. So something tells me they're really running in some demand charges. Concord, California is a suburb of Sacramento. But, for Tesla, at least in their high sales areas, you're starting to see superchargers installed like gas stations, almost on every corner. Yeah, right there you go.
And then here's another example, and this is close to me, Hagerstown, Maryland. This is the old 6-stall supercharger that's been open at the Outlet Mall for a while. And then one exit down, they're putting in a brand new V3 8-stall supercharger. So we're going to have Hagerstown. I don't know if they're going to leave the original one open or if they're just going to keep both of them. Yeah, we're going to have lots of charging capacity on Interstate 70.
Yeah, the EA facility is just down Sharpsburg Road there, not even to Green Hill. It's just near the corner of Poffenberg or whatever. There's the EA station down there. Where Premium Outlets is right up above the interstate.
Yep.
And the EA Electrify America station is less than a mile away.
Yeah, that would probably be, let's see here, it'll be this one.
Oh, Rick, just to let you know, in case you didn't know, the state of Maryland is also installing some DC fast chargers through some program, and they're actually going to install one in Friendsville, Maryland, which is as close as you can get to West Virginia and still be in Maryland, just about.
Well, they have them in Hancock and Hayden.
Right. Well, they're also one under construction in Friendsville. So you may find that going up to 68 next year, if you go to Baltimore, stop and have lunch at Stonewall, and you may be able to make it all the way to Baltimore in one day.
I was traveling to Baltimore a few years ago when I stopped in Shinston overnight, and the next day I wasn't going to have enough power because I'm climbing from Shinston Morgantown level up to Kaiser's Ridge. So I stopped at the Cornucopia Inn and I plugged in and I bought a Coke and I said, what are you doing here? Well, I'm just passing through. I'm charging because I don't think I can get to Hagerstown. And the waitress said, duh, it's all downhill from here. And I went out, I plugged. I think I had 10 miles to spare, and when I got there, I had 40 miles to spare. It was all that. So these DC fast chargers, maybe Friendsville's in Garrett County. Is that the last one out?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Because I don't have to stop then at Morgantown so long. Now I need to stop for 2 hours to get the 120 miles to get to Hancock. But if they can get one a little bit closer, then I don't need to stop in Morgantown for so long.
I also wanted to mention, now this is a little far away, but in Northern Virginia, they just put in a new 8-bay Tesla, and I'm not sure if it's a V3 or not, at the brand new gas station it's not a gas station, I'm sorry. It's a Sheetz. No, it's not a Sheetz. It's a Wawa.
Is you're talking about
Right,
there's a Wawa.
in Vienna, Virginia. It's a Wawa. And I was talking to a Tesla tech who was plugging in his P100 there, and he said, this is a free supercharger. I says, I didn't know there was such a thing because I have a Model 3. But evidently, he says, what you want to do is search on your site and do supercharger, no charge, which means free. And I don't know if they exist around here, but I just was surprised to hear that.
I think, Marty, you ran across one of those in Texas, but there's not very many that don't charge.
Yeah, the one in Easton Gateway in Columbus is still free because it's slow enough that you have to eat a meal, and the restaurants dump the money in to support the free charging. As we get faster, the restaurants are not going to see. You're not going to stop and eat for 40 minutes. You're just going to charge for 20 and leave. So now the restaurants are not going to subsidize it. The other point I want to make up, Marty and I a couple years ago tried to approach GoMart. They were not interested at all. But is this now a good time to rewrite to the CEO and say, do you want to talk again about possibly putting in these at all the GoMart stations? And charge money for them. They may not make money, but they'll make money then on the ancillary services. Or is it not a good time yet? If they've said no before, do we just still keep our mouth shut?
Well, we could always remind them. I don't see any problem with that. I don't know that we've got critical mass enough in West Virginia to make it worth their while for a more West Virginia focused company versus a Sheetz, which is more regional and covers some of these higher adoption areas. But, doesn't hurt. Keep it on the radar.
The fast chargers being put in now are not for West Virginians. They're for people from the other states to go through. They're thinking of putting them all at the periphery, which is not where West Virginians need them. I can be at home in Huntington. I don't need a charger in Huntington, but I need it at Flatwoods or Weston or somewhere else. We probably need one at White Sulphur Springs to be able to make more West Virginians be able to get to the Shenandoah Valley. But we don't necessarily need one where Interstate 64 comes right into West Virginia. That's not necessarily going to help.
Let me point out one thing. Sheetz doesn't put a dime into the Tesla superchargers. The construction costs and the cost of power and all that is paid for by Tesla. They in some instances provide the land so they can get the business from the snacks and stuff. But usually there's a fee, a rental fee that Tesla pays for the land, plus they pay for all the capital and the power. So it's Tesla doesn't, Sheetz doesn't do anything for free.
Scott, did you have a question?
I was just going to say, as far as contacting GoMart, you might want to wait till February, March, April of next year. If there's a new administration and if Congress is working, there may be some huge incentives coming down the road for businesses as well as individuals. And that's the time maybe to approach somebody like GoMart and say, this could make you some money, or at least be heavily subsidized perhaps.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good thought. Well, I know we've talked a lot about charging, and we've got about just a little bit left, so maybe we can move on to another topic. John, did you have a question?
Yeah, since we have Nissan man here, I was interested in maybe talking to a couple dealers around the state that are actually inventorying some electric cars. I know we have Yes Chevrolet. A couple of years ago, I went to the Nissan dealer in Beckley, Lewis Nissan, and they had a Leaf in stock and an old Charger out in front of the building. I went in and talked to him about the Leaf, and just wondered if you know any dealers that still have any Leafs in stock in the state.
Well, right now the dealer in Beckley has the extended range Leaf.
Okay.
The upgraded, the SV Plus. What and this is me speaking personally, so I got to clarify that, but there's a lot of training issues right now because we have training centers all over the country, and we don't let technicians work on the cars, EVs, unless they go through certain training. So we've had some lapses in certifications. So what we're having to do is to get the technicians recertified so they can take deliveries. Because if a dealership doesn't have an EV technician certified, we can't send them a car.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to send somebody a car that could potentially hurt somebody, right? So that's where we are right now. There's a big gear up. I think what you'll see over the next 6 to 8 months with the new Aria coming out is that there is a push from Nissan to kind of retrench in EV along with the dealerships because a lot of the potential in the market has been at the higher end, the $40,000 to $50,000 vehicles. Even if you look at the Hummer, it's $115,000 and it sold out in 10 minutes. So it's huge. Now they're weighing that against the capital costs. So right now, and I know I don't have an idea of our capital costs, but like on the Hummer, if you're a GM dealer, essentially I think GMC and Cadillac dealers can get this vehicle, but it's $150,000 in special tools that a dealership has to purchase to service this vehicle. So as a dealer, the dealer's looking at it, how many of these will I get? How many will I sell, in this case, in West Virginia, to make back not only the $150,000 just in tools, just to work on it, to plug into it. So that there's some challenges there, but there are vehicles like you called Beckley today, they've got a new 2020 Leaf.
Uh-huh.
And before we leave dealerships, one other thing that I've been just and I'm not picking on Nissan. This is for all the dealerships that we have interacted with, including like Hyundai and Kia. But when we do events, National Drive Electric Week, which Nissan is a sponsor of, dealers are abominable at participating. They're terrible. They won't return calls. They're very unfriendly, I would say, in some instances. Right. And so I don't know what all corporates, Nissan, GM, Chevy, all of them. It's like, I don't know what it takes. I mean, we're trying to offer free advertising. I had almost 70 people show up for the Drive Electric Week that we were able to do in person here in Martinsburg. And, I couldn't get a dealer to bring a vehicle just to show it to people, potential people who were there looking at electric vehicles. Now, the previous year I did get somebody to bring a couple vehicles, which was nice, but it is tough to get dealers. So just a note about dealers in general, whatever the corporates can do to encourage dealers to participate in those type of events, to get the word out, to let people know and let people experience the vehicle, not necessarily on a dealer lot, but out somewhere where they can see it and even take a little quick drive in it.
Right. It's great feedback.
So to get permission to interview a salesperson or somebody at Lewis Nissan, I just talk to the manager there, or you think I'd be able to
just reach out to me and I'll get you to the right person.
Okay. Can I get your contact information from?
If it's I can send it to John Hutch if you're okay with it.
That would be great. Thanks.
Yeah, I'll send it to you, John.
One of the things is people don't generally, if you're going to buy an EV, most people are doing some research and they're going to search it out. I have a friend who just bought a Tesla. She lives in Kill Devil Hills, and she had to go to Raleigh, North Carolina to get it. But she had never even seen one or ridden in one when she bought her Model Y. But people, I think the dealers are a little bit hesitant because the model is not such that they're not going to have them sitting on the lot for people to just, I think I'm going to buy a big gas. No, I think I'll buy this nice, pretty electric. They're doing their research, so I'm not sure that they find that mode of advertising is going to help them at all.
But I'll tell you, just to comment on that, that's not just EV right now. That's just the automotive industry. I was at a dealership yesterday, a Nissan Chevy store, and somebody was coming in from Oregon to pick up a pickup truck. So it's not just limited to EV. It's the industry itself, where if you see what you want, and if it's in Atlanta, Georgia, Houston, Texas, or whatever, all you got to do is get on a plane and go get it, or $1,000, have it shipped to your house. So the whole dynamic of what's in inventory, what's available has really changed, especially with COVID.
Well, and I think we're seeing some also shifts in the ability to research and purchase vehicles driven to online sales, and new players like not even new car players, but like CarMax and some of the places that, pick out a car and have it delivered to your house kind of thing. So yeah, we're seeing a lot of new, innovative kind of sales models, I think, evolving away from the traditional dealership model.
So I want to shift questions just a little bit and ask Taylor a little bit more about his in the ground solar arrays. Taylor, I know you installed the supports yourself with the galvanized steel members and concrete. I guess you use small sonotubes. But what about the actual hardware that's touching the panels? Was that your own design, or did you buy somebody's hardware?
I used aluminum, what they call, super strut. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you didn't.
I actually have some videos I could share with you. I don't want to eat up this video talking about solar, but yeah, I can send that to you. I don't have it public on YouTube, but I can actually send you. I did a couple build videos. I could share that with you.
Oh wow! Yeah. I'm probably a year and a half out from building my own solar installation. Then I can be like Robert and drive on electric.
Yeah.
Sunshine. I mean, drive on sunshine.
Drive on sunshine. That's right.
And like yeah, and Larry too.
That's right. We've got a few solar-powered EVs here.
Some of you already know I'm doing a project for Marshall on electrifying our fleet of 148 vehicles. And it's a 6-month project, and I'll be done in December. But in researching that, Larry will get a kick out of this. I've been looking at commercial lawnmowers, and one of the biggest dealers in the country is called Mean Green. They're based in Cincinnati, but have a dealership in Columbus. So I've been talking to them on the phone, and I have somebody that's going to go do a visit and a test drive and report back to me. But the point was that they had just sold, like, of this one model, 19 of them, and they were going to Arizona. So you're right. People are going from, if you're going to go for a lawnmower to Columbus, Ohio, from Phoenix, Arizona, it's either got to be the only one you can get, or it's worth it to do it. And even in the lawn mowing segment, it's almost 10 times as cheap, maybe a little bit more, in fact, to do that than it is to go with continue with gasoline.
I know I like my electric mower and weed eater and leaf blower. You just all use the same battery pack. Just get out there and go. And in the spring, it starts on the first push of the button. You don't have to worry about trying to get it started.
The energy cost of mowing with battery electric with this Ryobi I've got, I got a half-acre lot, and it's only like 12 to 18 cents to mow my worth of electricity to mow my lawns. The energy cost is about nothing.
All right. Well, we got a few more minutes. Any other topics anyone wants to jump into?
I'll just mention, since I was talking anyway there, that my wife's niece and nephew in Meadow Bridge have been driving a Chevrolet Volt, and just a couple of days ago they committed to getting solar from Solar Holler.
Very nice. Of course, I live up in the area where we've got some big solar companies, so I know they're always out installing installations all over the state. And we've got some pretty big installations at universities, and now at Charleston, the airport, they've got that really large installation on the parking building. So we're starting to see more of it, and that's great. I just got my recent bill. I've got a 7,500 kilowatt hour credit for electricity right now.
That's awesome.
I can't use all the power that I produce.
Robert?
Yeah.
You had some other topics on your announcement, your email.
Yep.
Battery investigations, recalls, EV transit, and school buses. Did you want to share any of that with people?
Yeah, I just put those on as discussion topics. I didn't have anything specific, but we can kind of talk about those. The EV transit buses and school buses, that's something just that I've seen more articles in the news cycle about here recently, especially like that project in Virginia where they've partnered with Dominion Power to, Dominion is offsetting the cost of those school buses so that the district can afford them, and then Dominion can use the batteries in those buses for peak demand season, and they can use the energy in those stored in those batteries. So, I think it's such a fantastic model. I'm just excited to see that happening. And I also noticed that Proterra has gotten involved. Proterra is one of the big electric transit bus makers that is here in the United States, but they're starting to sell their powertrains to other companies. So those powertrains can be going in vehicles other than transit buses. And I noticed they had a partnership with Thomas, I think it was, Thomas Built, for putting their powertrain in school buses. So there's just an area where it seems like there's a lot of interest and development going on right now, an area that's evolving rapidly in the industry. I didn't know if anyone else had seen articles or other comments.
Yeah, I think Thomas is a supplier to the Dominion project in Virginia. But that's pretty interesting. When you add up the batteries in all those buses that they're buying, it's like several megawatt hours, and school buses sit still 20 hours a day, so it's a great and they especially sit still during the evening rush hour, during the evening peak usage hour. So it's really works out great for Dominion to offset some of their peak demand.
And then like that, all the other EV vehicles can charge overnight and be ready for the next morning. The school buses could. It's a great idea.
Yeah, it's a really not just innovative technology, but just some innovative concepts. And people are really kind of thinking outside the box for some of this new stuff. That's great.
I always hesitate with so many Tesla experts on to mention anything Tesla because you've probably already seen it. But there is a very fascinating YouTube video called Tesla Semis. Here's why only idiots hate it. And I learned three things very important from that. One was that, as you know, as the battery is charging faster, there's internal resistance. So the semi is going to have 4 separate batteries. They charge separately but simultaneously, and they had to devise a new plug for that, and then they'll draw it out of all of them at the same time, but they'll charge the 4 batteries. The second thing was that they found they're selling so many vehicles now that a huge cost is getting the vehicles to the dealerships, and so their first customer is themselves to take the cars. So the first few semis they have will be pulling Tesla automobiles stations. And then the last thing I wanted to mention is, and I've thought this independently, even not being real smart, but autonomy is going to really take off when the cars are talking to each other. So Tesla is developing a plan where 3 semis in a row make a little caravan. And there's only a driver in the front, but in the next 2, they're talking to each other. So the car, the semi behind, knows that they're going to decelerate before they can even pick it up. And so they can be driverless, and they're going to be close enough that nobody's going to pull in that little space. But that's all they need to do. Is they don't need to teach it all the roads and stuff. I think keep it in the lane, yes, but follow me. And it's an amazingly brilliant suggestion. But anyway, I recommend it. Tesla semis. Here's why only idiots hate it.
And you know what that first driver in that semi convoy is going to have on the radio? Remember the old song Convoy?
Yeah. Yeah, that technology is called platooning, and I think several manufacturers are working on it, Tesla included. Yeah, so it's, I mean, but again, new concepts where, you know, labor is one of the most expensive costs they have. So if you can eliminate, you know, 2/3 of the labor in that, I mean, not good for truck drivers, but if you can have one driver driving 3 trucks, yeah, it can make a huge difference.
And one of the reasons that labor is for every business so expensive is the health care for their workers. Over 1/3 of what you pay for an automobile is the health care premiums of the people that built it. And if we can get health care costs down to what other countries are doing, and we probably have to have some element of single payer to do that, then it's going to help everybody across the country, because that's otherwise there's going to be a tremendous continuing push to robotics. You know.
Well, let's not stray into that.
Go into politics.
We do have a couple new people today, and this is the biggest crowd we've ever had. So I wondered in closing, Robert, if we'd mind asking the new folks what they think of our format and anything we can improve.
Great idea, Marty.
Hutch, you want to, Erica, you want to, Marianne?
I really don't have any input or feedback. I think it's a great. Pardon? I think it's a great conversation to have, and you know, it's this veers onto the conversation here. I can tell I'm listening to early adopters, and the conversation borders on technical, but it's a good conversation to have, and just trying to listen and learn.
Great.
I learned some new things. I mean, I've had my Tesla now 2 years. I haven't put much mileage on it, only about 10,000 miles, but I've learned a lot about the technology because that's my shtick. You know, I used to teach physics and computer science, so I was really into it. Even before I got my Tesla, I was doing a lot of research. But it's good to know that other non-Tesla cars are getting a better infrastructure, because my son bought one of the mid-range Leafs, I guess 149-mile Leaf, thinking, oh, I'm going to be like Dad. I can't afford a Tesla, so I'm going to buy this long-range Leaf, right? And he learned the hard way when he started going south to see some friends in Carolina. He almost ran out of battery power several times because there's just no place to charge those cars along Interstate 95 unless you're a Tesla. And so it was good. It's good to hear that that's actually changing. How quickly, I don't know, and by state. But I told him about it, and I'm surprised he's not on today because he needs to need more information about his Nissan Leaf. So there's a lot of things that I didn't know about, and I assumed that just because my Model 3 did all this stuff, everybody else did too. I did not know that a Bolt can only charge 3 miles an hour on a 110 20 amp AC level 1, because mine gets 5 to 6 depending upon the day. So it's a lot of things like that. The charging rate has to do with the car's charging circuit inside of it more than.
Well, and the miles per hour is also efficiency, how efficient the vehicle is, and it can use the amount of energy it has.
Right. So it just was, the whole thing has just been good. I hear all these different concepts, and here, I used to live in Northern Virginia, and I know that the governor set aside quite a lot of money to put in non-Tesla fast chargers across the state, but I have no idea what they're doing with it right now. The school buses sound interesting. Anyway, thank you for inviting me in.
Great. Marianne, what was your first thoughts? You might be on mute.
Muted.
Yep. I was trying to click around on my screen there. It was great listening in to everybody. Obviously, we used to come to the in-person meetings, and Missing everybody. I have recently retired, so I've got a little more time to get back into things, I hope, and having an upgraded Wi-Fi system. We're on satellite dish regardless, but it's upgraded, so hopefully I'll be able to sit in more of these the phone calls. So it's good to get all the new information and see what everybody else out there is doing in the EV world, especially with COVID too, and not being able to catch up with everybody. So really enjoyed just listening in. Do you have any comments, Ralph?
No, pretty much the same.
Yeah, oh, it's all good.
All right.
I wonder
Thanks.
about Touch. Does the new Nissan charge with CHAdeMO or did with CCS?
There's a lot of things coming up in the next 6 months, so I don't want to tell you wrong.
You know, but you can't tell. I know.
Not necessarily. The thing is, you find out the stuff hits the internet about the same time that I find out. Really, just because the landscape is so competitive, everybody's playing cards pretty tight. So the field people like me find out about as quickly as you do. So I'll let you know that.
Well, I guess the ARIA prototype was shown with CCS, and so that sparked the whole, Nissan's moving away from CHAdeMO kind of discussion. But yeah, I guess we'll see. But if that happens, that's kind of, we need to see consolidation in charging standards, and it looks like CCS is the de facto standard, especially in Europe, and it's probably moving that way here in the U.S. too.
Years ago, I spoke to the EV champion at General Motors, and she was on the SAE committee when they were originally writing the CCS standard. And she says that they went to Nissan upper management and begged them to switch to CCS in the United States and see how much simpler life would be if they had. And Nissan wouldn't even talk to them at the time. So that's why we have 3 standards instead of 1 or 2.
Well, it looks like we're probably on our path to having 2 in the U.S., 2 primary standards. And then, again, my personal opinion is that ultimately it'll probably be CCS everywhere.
Now, with the proper adapter, which cars can you charge at certain charge points? Like, for instance, if I had a Nissan Leaf and I go to a Tesla supercharger, can I charge a Nissan Leaf with an adapter? They're just not compatible.
Plus there's other, Tesla has got more than just charging going on. They've got billing, they got a lot of power, but they've also got like billing and customer information that's flowing over that connection.
Okay.
So any car, it's not just a physical adapter, it's getting support for all that other stuff.
But Tesla does have a CHAdeMO adapter, right? But just not a CCS.
They do have it, and they even have a CCS adapter in Europe, but not in the U.S.
So you can charge a Tesla about anywhere, but you cannot charge other brand vehicles at Tesla superchargers.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if I can butt in here, I was doing this for my son as well as our neighbors who have a Bolt, and I think there's a level 2 adapter from Tesla to that you can actually do a level 2 Tesla adapter on a Bolt if you had the right adapter.
AC, for AC. Level 2 stuff. Yeah, there are several because all that's the J1772 stuff. That's pretty standard. And you can flip between the 2. Actually, I think Rick uses one of those adapters to tap into Tesla plugs, destination charger plugs. It's only the superchargers that are real, that's real picky because there is billing and it's a different connector and a whole lot of power involved.
Yeah. Okay. Fry your battery, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. All right. I don't know how long you guys want to drag us out. But as far as the that Bosch charger, I looked up the specs there, and it looks like it can accept a maximum of 165 amps at 240 volts. So that looks like that would take quite a power system.
Yeah, when you start digging into the specs on those fast chargers, it is amazing how much power we're talking about. And then you think about a whole supercharger station being, that's over a megawatt of power if they were all in use. And then you think about like what a Tesla semi, just one vehicle is going to take to charge that thing. I mean, you're talking, more than a megawatt of power for a single vehicle.
Well, I think I can already see that houses that have 200 amp service is the standard right now. I can see that the electrical industry should probably start raising that up. I see where they have like 240 volt or 240 amp panels now that are like solar ready. But I'm seeing that I can just kind of foresee that the standard of as these EVs take off, and if people want DC fast chargers, or as the technology advances, I can see that the minimum size of a electrical service might be growing in the near future.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, we're a little over an hour now. So if anybody wants to drop off, I mean, no reason to hang around if you have something else going on. I mean, I'm happy to hang on for a little bit longer, and we can chat about whatever. But if folks need to drop, that's fine.
I'm gonna head out, and then there's an article in recently. I think it was in one of the newspapers about the big concern about our aging infrastructure, electrical grid, and the burst of EVs. So you can find that somewhere. It's an interesting read. We'll see you guys later.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
I read, Robert, that when a Tesla uses a CHAdeMO adapter, they're limited to 50 kilowatts. My question is that for all CHAdeMO charging, that's the maximum they do? Or is it only when they use the adapter, it knows it's using the adapter and limits it to 50 kilowatts?
Most of the CHAdeMO stations that I've seen are actually, they'll only output 50 kilowatts.
That's
like
what
all the EA stations that have CHAdeMO are only 50 kilowatts, and most of the dealerships or anybody else who has them are limited to 50 kilowatts.
Yeah, for Tesla to use that, it's almost like for us to use a level 1 AC. It's faster than level 2 DC or AC, but the level 1 DC is still not wonderful for travel. And the Tesla person's never going to rely on CHAdeMO except in an emergency.
Right. I mean, I would never use it unless and where we live, we've got plenty of supercharger options, so it's not really a problem. But if you happen to live somewhere where the superchargers were not placed ideally for you, but there was CHAdeMO installations, you might consider the adapter.
Just to give you a feel for the power demands, Tesla has a 56 stall station under construction on I-5 between LA and San Francisco. It's a Farborough, and that works out to 14 megawatts of power if everybody was plugged in.
Need your own little power plant right there beside
it. You need your own peaker right there. So yes, they have solar and they have batteries there, but man, 14 megawatts is just that's hard to comprehend. That's 3 times as much power as the Canal Falls hydro plant makes.
Wow.
I would like to drop, since our last meeting there, we actually wrapped up those last 2 solar projects. One on my friend's house, it was 8.96 K system, and then my father's garage, it was a 9.24, and both systems have actually been net zero since day one. We've had some really nice sunshine the first couple weeks, so I'm not sure, but I'm thinking they might carry net zero all the way through winter, but I imagine the usage will probably peak and it might overtake it.
If they use heat pumps and things for winter for heating.
Well, they both have gas heat.
Well, if they've got gas heat, they might.
But I mean, the solar production sure does go down in December, January, and February. So
I was going to another interesting video out there is there's some people with Model 3s that are now towing trailers, and these Tesla people understand reduced efficiency when they are doing that. So keep going, Marty.
So
that's something I'd like to see out of the Hummer. Yeah, to see how that thing's going to tow.
One more item that's not really Tesla related, except that it showed up on Now You Know, YouTube's channel. An outfit in Montana it's a charity that is plugging abandoned oil and gas wells. And if the United States really wanted to make a very quick impact on reducing greenhouse effect, plugging abandoned gas wells, there are over 3 million abandoned oil and gas wells in the United States, including West Virginia. It's got one of the highest counts. And plugging those would drastically reduce the amount of methane that leaks into the atmosphere. This guy claims an annual savings of more than switching 100 cars to electric for every well he plugs out in Montana. It's called the Well Done Foundation, and there's some good videos out there of the work they're doing. It's pretty interesting. It's kind of like drilling an oil well in reverse. But some of these wells have been leaking for 50 years. The company that drilled them just went bankrupt. Someone came in and stole all the steel, and there's just a hole in the ground that's emitting methane every day.
That is a sad truth. Wow.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, Marty. I'm going to look into it.
Yeah, there's a series explaining it. A Tesla driver from Minneapolis drove out and documented their work they're going on in Montana, and he's got a series of videos that explain the whole process, the fundraising, the well testing, the measuring of the organics leaking out, and then how they plug it. It's a really, and he's added some of his own cartoon videos to it. It's really, really good.
Yesterday, I actually saw a news article about the same thing up in Canada, how there's literally tens of thousands of those holes up in the oil patch that are totally abandoned, and how much methane's coming out.
Yeah, the practice seems to be to the major companies, as the wells decline, they sell the wells off to a small company, usually is some supervisor for the oil company, sets up his own company, and he runs the wells for a few years, and then he goes bankrupt and abandons them. Right? And so the bonds that are posted don't come anywhere near covering the cost of plugging the wells. So, it might cost $30,000 to $50,000 to plug the well, and the bonds might be $1,000 or $2,000. So the states are left with no money to cover these things. So this guy's, plugging them one at a time through his little foundation.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, Marty. Oh, I do have a question for Jim. Is your wife still driving the Bolt?
More and more.
You're going to be out of car.
She takes it for, well, no, yeah. It's I was just looking at her car. If she's getting gas in her car now, maybe once a month. I mean, unless we have to go two different directions, she's driving it. Of course, with winter coming now, that's going to be a whole different ball game, because I actually, years ago, I totaled one of her cars in our driveway. Because it's 850 feet, blacktop, 17-degree slope.
Well, you're going to need an all-wheel drive.
How much snow did you get? We had our first.
I'm going to sign off. I've got a place to go.
All right, Marty.
Thank you. Bye.
I've got about a quarter-inch of snow on my deck.
I've got some tires coming Monday for my Bolt. I'm putting Michelin X Ice tires on the front. Going to try that out. So I need them for my driveway in the dry weather.
All right, guys. Well, anything else before we wrap up?
Okay, have a good one, people.
I just want to have.
It's been a pleasure. Y'all have a good day.
Good to see you, Taylor.
Thanks, guys.